I couldn't lip read. I was off camera. What did it? The music was too loud for me. What did I miss? Enfin stands what?
Missed the moment. I'm sorry.
Moving on.
Is it energy finance? Is it N?
So that is one translation that it could be is energy finance, but in French, EnFin is finally or at last. So if
Ah,
taking the
Enfin.
two words of at last, so it's basically EnFin.
At last, you have found the right payment option for solar customers.
You said it.
Here we are. Let's get this kicked off. I think that's a great segue.
Oh,
Uh, Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm your host, Danny O'Malley, Director of Marketing for ESP, joined by Andy Schwartz, VP of Sales, Brandon Barton, Director of Dealer Support, and Matt Koenig.
Sir, you got it.
Koenig, all right. You are Director of Business Development for Enfinn, right?
For QCells and representing EnFin at the same time.
QCells.
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. That's great. Double whammy. Well, yeah, and if everybody is not familiar with Enfinn, they are part of the Hanwha QCells family, the finance or the payment option wing. So really exciting that we have an opportunity again to have everything, the best of all that you need basically under one roof, if you think about it. We've introduced Enfin before, long months ago when we first had the loan options come out, and paired with the QCell panels, obviously there's some great options there. But as the landscape evolves and changes of how people want to pay for solar, gotta move with the times, and we have this awesome new opportunity with Enfin to just dive into it. So without me blathering on, let's get into it.
we know that you all out there have many options to fly, and I know that Enfinn is glad that you're choosing them for this particular journey as we step into this new world of new things TPO. So we'll let Mr. Matt take over. I think Brandon's going to share his screen. We're going to run through some slides and let's rock and roll, everybody.
Yeah, let's walk you through a little bit of an intro. And I am not a big believer in long PowerPoints, so this will be brief and I'll cruise through it, but give you everything that you essentially probably have on your mind if you haven't seen our TPO in the past. All right, so we're covering a couple things here. Account creation and then the product overview. We want to make sure, obviously, that we start off at home base, which is what's going to happen when you're set up for EnFin's TPO. So the first thing that you're going to do is get this email. I've actually gone through this process as a user myself, so I know what it's like, and that's how I actually got these slides for you. But you can get the email. Click on where it says set your password. That's going to go and prompt you into a screen where you're going to do exactly that. Once your password is set, you're going to be dropped into our portal. Many of you, if you're selling the EnFin loan, you're familiar with the EnFin portal. Home base is the same exact spot. What you're going to see is that as you log into the EnFin portal to sell loans, you're going to be prompted to the TPO training every single time until you complete it. So you want to go and hit the play button on this where you start watching the TPO training video. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes. Please sit at your screen and actually watch it. There are valuable nuggets throughout, so don't just hit play and walk away. I implore you to just to make sure that you know what's there, because I have a feeling that these guys are going to scold you if you ask them things that are in that video the next day. Once you're done with it, all you're going to do is check the box that says that you attest to have watched the training video. You're going to click submit. From there, your screen's going to look a little different than it used to. You're going to have this TPO tab in the middle of it. The resources section when you're on TPO is going to have TPO specific resources, and you're going to have what's really the main item circled here is Aurora Connect. What this is launching you from our EnFin portal into our tenant of Aurora. And that's where you're going to be run through sales mode, creating projects, initiating credit pulls, having homeowners sign up. So that's really where you live in the TPO world for these days.
Before we go any further, I will mention that when you are prompted to watch that training video, I suggest you do it, because you won't be able to sell a deal if you don't. You won't be able to send docs. You won't be able to send somebody a credit check.
You won't be able to access Aurora.
Correct. So you won't even be able to get to this point right here that we're about to get to if you do not watch that training video. So when you get the email and you first log in, make sure to watch that training video. Next thing here is I'm going to touch on is before you click that Aurora Connect button, make sure you're logged out of any other Aurora accounts.
Yes.
Anywheres on your computer or anywhere really. Or if you really want to get techie, go to an incognito window, which I know you all know about. You can use an incognito window to log in, and then it will allow you to get through. But I recommend logging out of an Aurora account if you have one somewhere else with somebody else doing something else before we go on. Matt, I'll let you take it away.
Right away. And little tip, I mean, I'm in plenty of Aurora instances throughout the day, so I use the incognito myself. I have noticed that mine, I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but it sure does seem to save my email. I'm using Safari or Chrome, and it'll save my email. So just by using incognito doesn't mean I have to suddenly memorize a dozen passwords. So hopefully it works as easily for you. Once you are in, you click the Aurora Connect button, and that's going to go and prompt you to agree to a couple things. One is the SSO. Again, in the techie world, this is essentially just the connection between the Enfin portal and the Aurora portal. Once you've accepted that, which is our terms of service, you've got the Aurora terms. You click the button and click accept, and that's going to dump you into this final screen here for projects. And this is where we'll come back to after we walk through the product a little bit. But this is where you're going to be living as far as creating projects goes. Now, the product itself, throughout most of where you're selling, it's a levelized PPA. In fact, throughout everywhere that you're selling today, it's a levelized PPA. We do have a lease that's going to join the party here for LEDWP in August.
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately, LEDWP is live.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Hey!
This slide just got outdated, guys. All right.
Scrap start over.
Mind
Come on.
blown.
I'm
God.
out. So in PG&E, in SCE, and in SDG&E, you have a PPA. In LEDWP, a lease is live today. And in Texas, you have PPAs basically throughout ERCOT. So the only area where you're going to be writing business on a lease is going to be LEDWP. Thank you so much, Don. All of the PPAs are going to have a feel of a lease to the consumer, meaning they're just going to have a levelized payment. It's not going to be, if anyone's been in the business a long time, one of the old school PPAs where they paid for every kilowatt hour produced by the month and their bill was hopping around like crazy.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the homeowner with a static bill that might or might not have an annual escalator, depending on what you and the homeowner agree on at the time of sale, but it's going to be fixed pricing for them, no matter if it's escalating or not. Footprint. So I think we covered this just now here. California and Texas are the money spots for you guys. They're both active, and we've just added a huge utility here in the middle of this entire conversation. I love this.
It's great. It's our backyard.
All right. So as far as our credit requirements, I know this is a big one. We will write business down to a 620. That does not mean that every 620 and 623 and whatnot will be approved. And a couple of things to note on this. If you're under a 700, there will be some income related metrics. That does not mean income verification or stated income. It just means that in the underwriting, the automated underwriting process, there'll be a couple of metrics that are pulled into the equation for the approval. It is a soft pull at submission, and we do harden that automatically at M2 or install complete. If any of you are like me, you might wonder what happens if the homeowner wrecks their credit in between those two. Is the job going to fall apart? Fortunately, the answer is no. We've got a soft landing, basically being that we will eat the loss if that happens. We've got a bucket for that. It's such an edge case that we're not concerned about it at scale, and you don't have to worry about it at all. As long as the project continues to move forward, we're going to stick off that original soft pull. And for anyone that isn't too familiar with credit in the consumer world, soft pull means that we are not going to ding or hurt the customer's credit score by pulling that at the table. We do check for past BKs on all FICO scores. We're looking at how much credit they've opened recently. We're looking at past dues that they have on bills in the past couple of years, which the allowances for that do vary by FICO bucket. And then we do allow co-borrowers. So the rules here are one borrower must be on title, one borrower must pass credit, and you can't use any borrower more than once on an Enfin financial instrument. There is an exception to that last part, but you would have to write in, give the compelling reasons why somebody is going to be maybe on a second financial instrument with Enfin. After that would be it. So you're good there. And really important, we'll cover this in the Aurora demo, but to minimize any potential nuisance steps, please make sure legal names are matching up for somebody's license, for what's on their title, what would be on their credit report. So like my legal name is Matthew, and every time that I've ever gotten a loan, I sure don't write that my name is Matt, but it's in my email signature all over the place. So for legal purposes, I am Matthew Koenig, and that is what you would want to have the borrower do as well, so that you make sure you don't have a little nuisance stip somewhere in the process. Now, for the property in the system, you're looking at homes that are over $200,000 in value. Doesn't seem like that's going to be a big issue these days with the real estate market, so not too concerned, but something you should note. What it does mean, and there's another kind of quantifier on this, is you're probably not going to write a bunch of business in mobile home parks, in part because the homeowner does have to own the real estate. And another part is because the residence must be permanently affixed to the ground. What that means is if you see a home and lattice underneath it and you take a little closer look and there's cinder blocks and 2x4s and stuff, that ain't getting through. So manufactured home could be prefabbed in a factory, brought on site with the walls and whatnot, and built onto a foundation. That's cool. Cinder blocks and 2x4s, no fly zone. We are looking at primary residence only. That doesn't mean it has to be a single family. So it could be a single family, duplex, triplex, or up to a quadruplex. As soon as you hit 5 units, you are in commercial property zone and out of the EnFin world. So 1 through 4 units, if it's a multi-unit, then the applicant must either own the roof or they have to have HOA approval to put a system on the roof. Right now, our system minimum is 3.16 kW. That will slide up as modules are more and more powerful. The ceiling is 30 kW. We don't expect that to change. So pretty wide window. If you have like a 50 kW residential system, we're not going to be able to write the business. I'm very sorry. That person's probably just going to go and pay cash anyways, because they do for everything.
Matt, I want to catch you off guard here real quick.
Let's
I got
do
a
that.
question for you. If somebody had, let's say, a 35 kW, right, just over that threshold, are they capable of doing 2 opportunities with Enfinn?
They're not going to be capable of doing 2 opportunities.
Okay, you can't split it
What
up.
they could do is, just like if you had an existing system on a property, you could individually meter the 2. So they could do 30 kW of it on the PPA and 5 kW with another means, another instrument, cash, whatever that might be.
Okay,
But we're not going to write 2 PPAs on a single property.
beautiful.
Consumption and production must adhere to the local utility requirements, nothing new there. And we do have a year 1 savings requirement. You will see that as reflective in all the different configurations of whether it be PV only or battery plus PV. The nice thing is when you're in Aurora and you're at the magical financing page where you're picking how you price this, the only options you're going to see are the ones that you can choose. So you don't have to sit there and wonder, is this one okay on the table? If it's in front of your face, you can click the button in Aurora. Plans comparison, I am going to assume that pretty much everybody here is familiar with loan, cash, prepaid PPA that's currently not on the table, and a monthly PPA or lease. So I'm going to breeze past this one for y'all and go into the slide here that follows.
If you have
It has a
questions
lot more
about that
info.
slide, reach out to your manager or admin. They'll be happy to describe the differences between all of those.
Right on. Should I go back?
No.
Okay,
you're good. I'll
great.
Carry on.
This is good.
All right, so this one has a lot more magic on it, right? Everything's a 25-year term. We do have a performance guarantee. It's 90% of the production estimate. That estimate is what's on the proposal itself. So there are some nuances to that where overproduction would be banked against future underproduction. The guarantee starts in year 2 and goes every year thereafter. And it's going to be calculated on a 24-month anniversary. Sorry, that's the same thing as year 2. At the end of term, it's set to auto renew for 5 years, 25 years into the future. There will be notification on that. The homeowner will have an option. They could extend, they could cancel, they can talk to us about buying out the system. Those things will all come into play probably when most people on this call are happily retired. As far as the escalator options go, in California, you have 3 of them, a 0, a 2.99, and a 3.5. In Texas, we're limited to the 0 and the 2.99. You can do PV only, you can do PV plus ESS. In California, you can set it up as arbitrage only for the battery. In Texas, you have to have backup for the battery. We're not going to just do straight arbitrage like we would in California without giving Texans the ability to use a backup battery, because look at Texas and the Houston area right now. People need backup if they've got a battery, and they'll be very disappointed whenever push would come to shove, and they'd say, but you sold me a battery if it weren't hooked up in backup mode in any kind of hurricane prone region. For buyouts, you do have a buyout option on the 5th anniversary. So that will happen where you get to the 5th anniversary and you have a 60-day time period in which the homeowner can write into EnFin and say, I would like to buy out the system. EnFin will issue an invoice to the homeowner. They will pay that within 30 days and they can buy the system out for fair market value. Fair market value cannot be determined any other time than at the buyout timeframe itself. There's no way to forecast it. It will be what it is at that point in time.
Do we have a estimated fair market value of end of term on the agreement?
I don't believe we can put in estimated fair market values anywhere.
Okay.
There are, I believe, legal and regulatory issues that are far over my head, and I would need to actually, have Esquire after my name to explain them well.
Got it.
And I don't.
Fair.
The other options for the buyout are any time during the term at a home sale. And of course, end of term. Grid services. So we do automatically enroll into VPP, and the pricing for any area that's going to have benefit to VPP is going to be baked into the PPA itself. So I'm going to make good on my promise, guys. That is end of deck. And
Right on.
we can jump right into what the actual tools look like.
All right, guys, you ready for this? Let's do it. All right, first things first, I'm in the EnFin portal. Please note at the top right, your account. It should be representing energy service partners right here to make sure you're logged into the correct one. We chose TPO like your slide deck had, and then you'll go right into Aurora Connect.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll go ahead and do that. When you click Aurora Connect, it will open up a new slide and take you to the project at hand.
Yep. So this would actually dump you right into the projects page where you would create a new project. When you hit the button to create a new project, which is essentially just in the upper right, you better know what this address is if you're about to leave it, buddy. So there's simply a button in the upper right that says new project. In there, you would enter in the project address and click OK. That's going to create the project and bring you right into this page. Some things to note on this original setup page. Customer profile. This is really important. So we click the edit button in there, and you need to make sure that first name, last name, phone, and email that is a functioning email for that homeowner are incorrectly. It does not have to be inputted correctly right away, but it's sure better by the time that you're hitting the button to submit credit. Because if it's wrong and you go and you pull credit and the homeowner gets declined, or you get an error, whatever's going to happen there, if all that's wrong, is basically going to be a decline. Homeowner could call into the EnFin homeowner line and they're going to say, hey, I need you to change blah, blah, blah. And the homeowner line is going to say, that's not how it works. You need to cancel and resubmit under the right information, because that's the only way that we know that you actually are you, not calling in to change an in-flight credit application to Joe Schmo's email address, who now is going to get all your documentation moving forward. So again, if you don't have that up front, it's fine. You can create the entire proposal without this. Just like put a post-it note or whatever it's going to take, tattoo it on your hand. You're going to go back and you're going to make sure this info is right before you go and rip credit. Next thing you would do, if you have it available again, is you can go into the energy consumption. And you know what? We can go into sales mode here for this now.
All right, sounds good.
While Brandon does that, I'd like to reiterate, make sure you guys get the email address correct before you send the credit application.
Please don't provide the wrong information for the customer. It really makes all of our lives just miserable. So please, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's basically going to be like starting over all again if you accidentally send the incorrect, misspelled. It doesn't matter who calls in, the homeowner calls in, it's going to need to be rerun. So just again, just to say it, make sure you get that right the first time. Thanks.
Yeah. And guys, think about this. If I'm the applicant and we've used my email, and then somebody, maybe me, maybe not me, calls into a support line and says, actually, we need to change it to Andy Schwartz at Gmail.
Who's that guy?
We're going to decline that request because we don't know if Andy can sign on Matt's behalf. That's how they're going to look at it every single time, is now we're essentially setting ourselves up to be, defrauding a homeowner. So
I have a webinar recording though where I heard you guys say that you could use each other's like socials and stuff though. Is that cool? Like if I provided that to the, I'm just kidding. Keep going.
Strike that from the webinar.
delete.
Control Alt Delete, right?
All right, so you've got a couple of options here on the setup page. Let's pretend that you don't have the consumption info yet. You can hit the button for an expert model and you can just say send request. That request, if you hit that button, it's going to give a pop-up that will say expedited 30 minutes or standard 3 hours. We're paying for these, and I'm inviting you to use the expedited anytime that you want that proposal faster than 3 hours. Punch that button and get it done. If you're sitting there and you're doing it at night, or your presentation isn't until the morning, sure, go for the standard. But if you feel any anxiety or urgency over it, hit the expedited button, get that thing back. Now, the benefit, if you do have your energy consumption, which we can click onto the consumption over on the left here, or into sales mode, whichever way you want to go. But if you have that in advance, it's great to go and input that. How's that looking? Let's actually jump that into sales mode and go into the consumption there.
Sounds good. I think it's key too. Your design request, you'll get an email back saying it's completed. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
Yep. So the nice thing here is that we follow a flow. You don't even have to scroll on this, Brandon. You can just go to the top where it's the little cord. There's your usage. So let's click on that first button, and this is just you work your way through one by one. So you've chosen an annual energy estimate of 9,000 kilowatt hours. I would say you do the monthly estimate if you just have a single bill, and you would plug in any 1 month to go and give you what you're looking for. That's going to go and build all the rest of them off of the bill that you have on hand. Now, make sure that you've got the pre-solar rate and the post-solar rate, i.e. what utility the homeowner will be in and what plan they're going to be on pre-solar and post-solar. Please have that in there correctly. That's going to impact your ability to price out the job accurately at the end of the day. We can go back because we've got this built up to offset on the annual. So for this, you can go back to the annual and just jump that back to 9,000 so that we're going to keep it on track. All right, click done on the upper right and let Aurora do whatever thinking it needs to do for a second here. You'll see on the bottom of the screen these little black pop-up rectangles, and that's just Aurora doing calculations. Please don't just click past that. Those are important to move on to the next phase. Some are 2 seconds, some might be like 15 seconds, but you'll notice them coming up, and just let it do its thinking and get the job done. Now we can click on the little home button on the up top part. That's your system design. So you've got the expert design model back, and what it's giving you here is the home laid out with the roof drawn for you, the setbacks in place, and the system size is going to be targeted to 100% offset. Now you'll see you've got a lot more modules available. So you can click on a module, and if you click on one of the active ones, it's going to deactivate it. There you go. That actually activated that one, so that's great. I was going to say, if you click on one of the grayed out ones, that's going to activate it. So if the homeowner doesn't want to see modules on one portion of their home or the other, simple. You could go and click off one by one. You can click and start dragging your mouse, and it's going to take a few on or off at the same time. So really easy to go and just fine tune which mods you have active, which ones you don't. This one, when you've got it all set, say, all right, great. You can go and hit the finalize button on that. And noteworthy right now is that the inverters are actually being placed and chosen for you guys based on the default that you have. If you're to run into an issue where, hey, we need to change the inverter, we need to do something on the job that I can't do and I want it done in real time, and it's something that the company says we should be able to do, there's a really helpful button. It is just between the 112% in the upper right and the exit. Right, there's a 16 over that little life raft. So you click on that, and live chat is second from the bottom. So that's Aurora's rapid support. So if you need something done and you go, having trouble doing this myself, you open this little window up and you start typing what you need, and Aurora's going to go do that for you in real time. Let's not type anything right now though, because
I
I'm gonna
won't.
start to. All right, so we click the done button here because we're done with that screen. We're ready to go. And then you move on to the middle icon, which is the battery.
Yeah, Matt, it seems like we're just doing a left to right process flow. Real simple.
It is that easy, brother.
Before we move on, I do want to just touch on the home design thing, the importance of like understanding what you're looking at when you see that. I think a lot of people might be tempted to just be like, oh, click all these panels, turn them all on. That's great. Whatever. Sometimes they're off for a reason, and that may be like there's an obstruction underneath it. Like I think one of the ones you popped on right there might have had a little vent or something. Hard to see. If you're used to looking at roofs from this kind of top down and getting familiar with design tools like this, you will be stronger in the home because you'll be able to help the homeowner understand, hey, here's why we have the panels here, and here's why we're building this to your best benefit. And that just helps build and solidify that sale. So that's all I wanted to throw out there.
And I'll
Know your
piggyback.
tools.
The way this is being built, the way that it's defaulting to is going to be the modules that have the highest yield. So
Correct.
this is going to be your ideal system from simply generation. And yield is going to play into basically the economics for the homeowner, right? The homeowner is going to have a better deal if they've got a nice open south face than if you had to fill a north face. We do not rule out modules on the north side as long as the system actually meets the design requirements, which in California, the yield requirement is something to the effect of like 750, which is about half of the state's average of 1,500 yield. So you'd have a heck of a time, almost have to find a home to go and fall outside of that at the bottom end. So you do have the flexibility. Again, if the homeowner just says, look, I just don't want to see them on my house, you could go to the back side of the house. It would be northeast facing, but you would still be in the yield requirements. It's just not going to be as pretty of economics for the homeowner as if you were going southeast and southwest like this. So it'll always default to the best modules that can be chosen for system performance. We get into storage, and obviously a really important one here in California. So you choose the battery. We pick, I think, a 5P because we've defaulted to Enphase for the company's default inverter. And you let it do its thinking, maybe put 2 of those on here. Now, possibly one of the most important things in all of your Aurora experience, the operating mode defaults to backup. If you leave it in backup, then these guys, and eventually me, are going to get these angry emails of why is Enfinn's pricing just atrocious. The reason would be when a battery is sitting in backup mode, it's not being used for grid arbitrage. So what you want to do every time in California, every single time, is hit energy arbitrage. That is going to be the best economics for you. We'll let it think about it now, but you'll see how the economics change from the backup to the arbitrage as soon as this thing's done.
Matt, what does arbitrage mean?
You would have to Merriam-Webster that exact definition. What it essentially means is that you are using that battery to the best of its ability to work with the NEM3 utility schedules.
Cool.
So you're not just putting it into a self-consumption mode, where as soon as the house could draw power, it will draw power. You're actually working a long time with the utility scheduling, knowing when the right time and the optimal time is to draw power from the battery for the best economics for the homeowner. So that's like NEM3 performance mode.
Nice. I think you did answer
Fantastic.
that just like Merriam-Webster would.
Thank you, sir.
In our particular world, yes.
In our world.
Yeah, this is where everybody wants to live, is within this rate arbitrage life here. Whether you're using the Powerwall 3, whether you're using the IQs, whether you're using any of the other batteries that are available, that's where you're going to want to go. And then we're going to jump into, what does the reserve mean? And how does that affect everything? Take it away.
Right on. So this reserve slider, this actually is an indicator for us. Oof, I wouldn't set it that high ever. Set that thing 10 or below. I actually trim it down to about 5 because in theory, you could have it higher, but in practice on a day-to-day average working day, that battery is going to be getting filled and drained back and forth to go and do its job in arbitrage. By setting any backup reserve, even 1 or 2%, that indicates to us that this project will ultimately be wired for backup power. If you were to leave it at 0, that's telling us that this project is just going to be in grid arbitrage with no backup. So it's purely a battery for economics and not for backup power. It seems like a pretty popular option to include the backup wiring and whatnot in there, especially if you're looking at, say, PG&E, where we know that outages are going to happen. It's just a matter of when and where. But that slider is important, so don't just breeze past it. And energy arbitrage is even more important for when you get to the financing page, which when you click done on this one, Brandon, this is one thing out of the order of operations where you click done there. We are going to skip the little round money page. And I'm sorry that we're skipping one of the money pages, but there's nothing there for us, and go straight into the one that looks more like a bank. So we tag the financing page, and this is where we start to have fun.
I would like to mention, because we are just talking about batteries, the Powerwall 3, it's approved, right? It's on the AVL.
Powerwall 3 is on the AVL, approved and available for you guys to use in this portal. So, yep, we move from cash to EnFin, and then you can pick your escalator as you would like. There we go. And now this is going to pull up your pricing matrix here in just a moment.
Yeah, it's thinking.
While we wait for that, just a heads up. The reason why we're skipping the little circle with the dollar sign in is if you do add anything in there, it will affect what happens after it. And so you don't want to. That's what you want to keep that little spot blank and for the time being.
There we go. Now it's calculating. So let's see.
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
I just blow on it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, take the cartridge out.
Yeah. That's great. And
Old school.
That was actually great that happened, because if that happens, yeah, you might want to go back over to the left-hand side and just click cash, click EnFin. Technology is never quite perfect. It is a lot better than the old school Nintendo cartridges. We don't have to blow on the Aurora portal for it to work right. Slam the top of the Nintendo machine a few times. But that's what you would do. Just try and toggle it, give it a little jog there with a click of a mouse instead of throwing the Nintendo across the room. So this table is now going to go and give you all of the options you have available. If it is on here, you can select it. If you scroll back all the way up to the top, Brandon, you should see, there you go. If you wanted to see a different escalator, you can still toggle the different escalators when you're in this one. And then that's going to go and give you a different table that corresponds to it.
Beautiful.
This part, Aurora is pulling a decent amount of data, so it does take a moment to think about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is nice to know though it's that quick and easy.
It is that quick and easy. This is a little longer than we're used to waiting, so
Nope.
not positive here on why it has to think about this so much. But typically this page actually works within a matter of a couple seconds.
There we go. Calculating payments. We'll be back at that 3.5 in no time. All right.
There you go. So you could pick one of these buttons that feels like the right one for this project.
I think it's key that this is the EPC price per watt. This is gross. So if you have any adders, we need to remove them from this gross price, correct?
So as far as, yeah, that is gross price, and that's about end of story for EnFin's portion of this. So you do have to, if you've got to pull out a little paper and pencil or however you're calculating, you know, what your baseline is on the project, if you've got a service panel upgrade, something like that.
Correct.
You have to know your starting point, and then this is your selling price. So yeah, this is the all-in, what's getting paid out on the job.
We've got a few questions about adders and adding adders and how to calculate adders. Like most TPO products, let's say you chose that 26 cents at $6.99. You're going to need to do the math. You're going to need to know what that MPU cost is. You're going to need to know what that battery cost is, and you're going to have to do the backwards math to figure out if that works with your current red line or what you're selling at, and making sure that there's enough margin for it to work. If you don't know how to do that math, ask your manager now.
Good plan. Here you can click save so that you lock this in for the moment. You got that $6.99 chosen. And then once it is done with this calculation, we can get you right into the proposal. So the little arrow next to the 112% up in the upper right looks like a paper airplane. There you go.
There we
That
go.
share button. So that's going to open up the proposal options where you could send it via email, you can download it, or in this case, we're just going to click view. And the proposal is going to look very familiar after you've been in sales mode once, because it essentially is sales mode without the 5 buttons on the very top. Stop there for a moment and you can hover over any of the bars on that graph. So the proposal actually does have interactive elements on it. So if somebody does want to stop and show this, or if the homeowner has questions, you can show them what this looks like. If they were to choose to do nothing, you can keep on going down here. Got the system itself, what's expected off of it. And there's your battery. And hey, one thing, I've mentioned the live chat before. That picture isn't as centered up as they are 9 times out of 10 at least. I actually haven't seen one over to the left like that. If that's a problem, this is another time where you could hit live chat and say, hey, will you please center this house on here for me? Thank you very much.
Right on.
And they're going to go and do that for you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're referring to the design being slightly. Yep. This is the first time I've seen it like that too.
Yeah, first time I've seen it like that, but I don't love it. So I would chat into Aurora and just say, hey, this is showing up way left in the proposal. Can you please send this?
I think Brandon, you were messing around with it too much. You just need to leave it to the professionals, right?
You're right. I break things.
Where are these mythical? All right, so you've got the storage that you have on here. So 10 kilowatt hours, sitting in arbitrage mode, and you've got the backup allocation. So you can see that there is backup allocation. You can tell the consumer, yes, sir, of course, if you were to expect a blackout coming from PG&E, you would then be able to change your setting on the inverter, or you call us and we'll help you change that setting so that you can put that into backup mode for the time that you foresee needing to have backup power and you don't want it to be working and just dumping all the power back into the grid for arbitrage.
Right. That was one of the questions that Andy answered just briefly in passing, but the allocation is just to get that good pricing. So normal day-to-day operations expected, the battery is going to discharge so that you're actually getting those savings by selling it to the utility and pumping it back up again.
Have control over the battery, so that
yes,
it's work mode when you need to change its work mode.
The homeowner has in the app will have, oh hey, yep, no, charge me up, don't sell any.
Yep,
I foresee some issues. Yep,
exactly.
I think it's important to add in here too, the amount of allocation that you add for backup actually makes a difference in the savings mod that is going to be shown here in the next little bit. Because if you have more backup allocation, it will mean less arbitrage, which would mean less savings because you're holding more of that juice on site to use in the event of a blackout or whatever the reason might be. And so toggle that, use that switch, look at the numbers, see what the savings is, see how you want to properly sell this job and take care of your customer, because it will give you a different number for that grid use of $3.46. If you move that 5%, let's say to 10 cents or 10%, you're probably going to see like $6 there.
Yep.
Yeah, this will go higher.
Keep that backup reserve low.
Yeah.
When you're selling, especially in California, and you're trying to use it economically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Higher allocation, higher grid use. All right. Good point.
Right on. So let's see, scroll down the proposal a little bit.
Sure.
I'm not sure how much we messed with this thing, but I'm looking for the apply button.
I'll tell you what, there's a way around this though.
There is.
There we go.
I was going to say, we could hit apply from right here. So you would hit the apply now button and that's going to go. And by the way, let's just say it again. Before you hit the apply button, let's make sure you got the right first name, last name, phone number, email address.
Yep.
Double, triple check.
But that's going to go and bring you to this application. So this application is going to pull through all sorts of information here from the proposal itself. Keep scrolling down. It's only going to need a couple pieces of information, which you could do the add a co-applicant right there. Go past. Yep. So it's going to show you everything in here. This is where just up from there where you would need to put in a couple pieces of information. Now, this is a live project with dummy info, so we're not going to do that there. I do have a little bit of a slide that I can show.
Yeah, take it away.
So that you can see how this is going to look. So let me pull the screen share. And essentially you would hit that apply now button there. That's going to take you onto the page that you just saw, the application itself. We're going to go and pop in date of birth, SOCH number. And there's a couple ways to do this. There's my personal favorite, which is once you've created this application, you email it to the consumer. They type in their date of birth and their social number. By far and away my favorite, and I think everyone's favorite for every compliance reason under the sun. Not required, so you can actually type this in on your laptop as well, but you both have the option to be able to go and type this in. Click a couple buttons here to attest that you've read the terms and conditions, whatnot, you're applying for credit with us, and click submit. So this is what the homeowner would see here, and then they check their email and they would see this: congratulations, you are approved.
Woohoo.
At that point, they will have an option. They can select ACH and get a $10 discount from all the numbers that they just saw, $10 a month discount, or they can choose not to pay by ACH. In the order of operations, they do have to make this selection before they're going to go and see the agreement itself. And if they're choosing ACH at the time of sale, they're going to have to go link up their account to make sure that they're not just choosing ACH, sign an agreement, and then living their life and never bothering to set up ACH and clogging your file at NTP. So if they're going to do it, they're in. They've honestly, like, this is an indicator for you guys. They're ready to go. They're setting up their bank account. They're like, yep, connect with Plaid. Awesome. Here we go. I'm choosing Chase. This doesn't show exactly Plaid, but if you've ever used Plaid before, super cool. Way better than going the old school, plugging in your bank info. We're not looking for voided checks or anything. This is just a linking the bank account up. There is a little bit of a workaround if the homeowner really does not want to make this selection, or they don't want to go and put their bank account in. You do have an option. It's not the best UX out there, but they can choose no on ACH, sign the contract, move forward with the project in their life. After PTO, they're going to get their first bill 30 days after the project is PTO, which we didn't talk timelines much, but this is big. Their billing is not going to start until after that project is interconnected and they're producing power, and they're going to have a bill 30 days after that. So very different than the typical loan world where they're going to get billed at, glass on roof, maybe 60 days later. And there are situations where everyone's been in where the homeowner has a full utility bill and a full loan payment. That does not happen here. So if they have selected non-ACH, but then they go, yeah, I really did want that $10 discount and I like ACH, the rest of my world is on it, let's do that. They can pay their first bill the old school way, and then they can set up ACH with us directly after the fact, still get the $10 discount once they do it. Once they've made that selection, they're going to have the homeowner agreement pop up into their email. They're going to be able to go and review, and look at that. You did a great job. They signed. Project is all signed, sealed, and delivered.
Right on. And then we'll have a direct webhook too. So once that job is signed, sealed, and delivered, like Matt just said, you should get a submit your project form email. That's verifying that you sold the deal. You're telling ESP what you need out of that, and we can schedule that site survey.
It's that easy, folks.
Absolutely. Now, the skin here is not a whole lot of people, or maybe you're going to want to do that ACH right away. They'll want to see the contract first. We get that. It's great that they still have options. And then, for those sales reps that do post-install visits, that's your chance to be a hero and say, hey, look, we earn PTO. First thing we need to do is set up your EnFin account for ACH so you get that $10 credit to increase your ROI. So.
And useful tip here, if the homeowner just wants to say, look, I just want to see what the agreement looks like, it's in the resources section. You can download a sample one. You can say, look, it's going to read exactly like this, except for it's going to have your name, your address, your system details. Really but all the T's and C's, everything is here for you. We just know that if a homeowner doesn't actually take the action and they sign the contract, there's going to be a bunch of cleanup and follow up. And then we're going to have to say, sorry, I know you selected ACH and you expected the discount, but you never linked your account, so you're not getting the discount. The amount of workload with that, I think, would be almost mind-blowing for the amount of consumers that would say, yeah, I want the discount, and no, I'm never going to actually follow up on that.
I actually really like that it shows the more expensive, the plus $10 dollar amount.
Killing me.
Yeah. Right.
You love it. And I'm about to go and flip it on its head.
No. Well, I think there's some value to both of them.
Yeah.
Like taking the $10 off by incentivizing the homeowner to do ACH is one way to do it, rather than where I think what Matt's about to say is to remove the $10 and then add it on after, right? By refusing to do ACH on site, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple different sales tactics that you can use out there.
God, I feel like this is going to go to a survey.
It might.
Tech is going to hate me if this goes to a survey and your school thought wins.
Because
The dev
it's
ticket's
status
been
quo.
in for a month already.
We did have a pretty good question that's out there. Welcome calls. What's that like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So welcome calls are mandatory in every project. You can call the welcome call number, which if you don't have any contact us information for EnFin, if you can't find it, Google EnFin contact us and the whole page pops up. So you'll actually see the installer support number, the homeowner support number, which great time to point out, those are different. So if it's a homeowner related question and they have the questions or it's all about them, you call the homeowner line. If it's more, hey, I have a question about how this works in my account as an installer, you call the installer line. Another number that's going to be listed there is the welcome call line. So homeowner can call into the welcome call with you right there. Do that before you leave the house. No problem with that. They're going to get asked the typical series of questions, confirm their identity, that they understand the agreement that they signed, that it's a power purchase agreement, that it's at this rate, it's for this time, it has this escalator or it is not escalating and whatnot. And that's going to be taken care of them proactively on your part by calling in. If you choose not to do that, or if the homeowner says, hey, I don't have time for that right now, it's been real, I love this, can't wait to go and see the solar, they'll call me. Then the welcome call team will make 2 attempts, I believe it is, starting within 48 hours, but typically much faster than 48 hours. That is just the worst case SLA for the first attempt to get a hold of the homeowner. If they cannot be reached, then the onus flips back on the homeowner, or for you to incentivize that homeowner to call in and finish up that welcome call.
Nice. A couple chats just came through in support of your point of view for the ACH, Matt.
Love you guys.
I'm sure there might be a couple for me too. I don't know. We'll see.
I feel like job form is coming in my future.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to do a survey to everybody. Kenneth had a question. Is there a mobile app?
There's, boy. So the only way that you're going to actually get in is through the EnFin portal. So let's just say no, there's not, because you've got to go through the EnFin portal and that's going to pipe you right into the Aurora platform.
Yeah. I've used the EnFin site and Aurora on my phone. Solid.
Yep.
Like no
phone,
need for
iPad, it
yeah.
works. You don't need the app for it. It's all optimized for mobile device.
All right. I think that's a wrap, guys. I mean, we covered a lot. I think, Andy, what you had said earlier, just contact your manager. If you have additional questions with EnFin, we can do more trainings beyond this.
Yep.
Just Matt, thanks for joining us, man. This is huge.
A pleasure. It's been great to be here. And guys, look, this is the first time, not the last time. So we'll be setting up other sessions. We'll be setting up office hours, Q&As. We're here for you. This, if you haven't used Aurora before, I understand that anytime you use new tech, there's a little bit of a learning curve. I can tell you that one of the things that I can share is we've got a video that Aurora did of sales mode, and it burns through the whole process in like, I think under 5 minutes. And that's taking some detours, showing you things. It's a great piece of training collateral and reference material. I actually asked them to make a shorter one because now that myself and a handful of folks have done this a few times, you can get through these proposals so fast. So we want to help get you there. And that's why I'm saying we'll do more of these. We'll have office hours and Q&As and whatnot, just to make sure that you're really comfortable with it. Anything that might be holding you up, we're here to help you out.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Everybody, if you do not have a login yet, logins are coming. We've just sent off a list of a few people, a couple people here and there, but you're about to receive that email. So make sure when you do get it, log in within 24 hours or it may explode. Also do the training as soon as you possibly can. Once you get that login all set up, you guys test this out.
Yeah.
Try the pricing, build some systems, play with Aurora, get to know it. I promise you that this is going to be something that you use, you'll enjoy, you'll like it, your homeowners will like it, and you'll get paid.
We'll put up, I know we covered a lot on here, but I mean, my brain's going a mile a minute of like why this is just a better experience and just a better opportunity to go all the way around. So we'll put this recording up and send out the recap to anybody. So if you want to refer back to any specific talking points, absolutely, we're here to support you. And yeah, really appreciate your time, Matt. This was super exciting. We can't wait.
I appreciate you guys having me. It's great to
Awesome.
be here.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
See you around,
Have a
guys.
great week. Happy selling.
Happy selling.
Happy selling. Bye.
Bye.